What? Inside the pyramid? Long before the jungle covered them, Maya cities rose above the surrounding forests, their temples and pyramids shaping the skyline of an entire civilization. At the heart of these ancient cities stood massive stepped structures built from stone, rising layer by layer toward the sky. Their broad bases supported long stairways, while the upper levels often carried temples that crowned the entire monument. These pyramids were not simple solid mountains of stone. They were carefully constructed architectural complexes built from enormous quantities of quarried rock and covered with finished surfaces that gave their walls a more refined appearance. Over time, many of these structures were expanded, repaired, or completely rebuilt. A pyramid that appears to be one enormous monument today may actually contain several earlier buildings hidden inside it, each representing a different generation of Maya architecture. The result was a remarkable kind of living history, where new rulers could transform an existing sacred structure without completely erasing what had come before. And above these massive foundations, the Maya placed something even more important. At the summit of many Maya pyramids stood a temple, deliberately lifted far above the ordinary world below. From this elevated position, the temple became more than another building. It created a powerful connection between the earth beneath the pyramid and the open sky above it, placing sacred spaces at the highest point of the city. The climb itself was part of the experience. As people moved upward along the steep stairway, the familiar world of the plaza gradually disappeared beneath them, while the temple became increasingly visible against the horizon. These elevated sanctuaries were associated with religious ceremonies and important rituals, and their height gave them an extraordinary presence within the surrounding landscape. For Maya rulers, architecture could also communicate power. A temple rising above a crowded ceremonial plaza could be seen from far away, reminding everyone who approached the city that this was a place of enormous spiritual and political importance. The pyramid therefore became a foundation, while the temple above it formed the sacred destination. But to reach that destination, every visitor had to make the same journey upward. The stairways were among the most striking features of Maya pyramids, often stretching almost the entire height of the monument. They were not designed for comfort. The steps could be extremely steep, forcing anyone who climbed them to move slowly and carefully toward the temple above. From the bottom, the summit seemed distant. With every step upward, the perspective of the city changed until the enormous plaza below gradually opened into view. The staircase also created a powerful visual connection between the people gathered below and the sacred space above. During important ceremonies, the movement between these two levels could turn the pyramid itself into part of the ritual. The architecture made the journey visible. A person climbing toward the temple could be seen from the plaza below, while the temple remained clearly visible at the top. In this way, the staircase was not merely a practical way to reach the summit. It became part of the meaning of the monument itself. And these enormous structures were not always placed randomly across the landscape. The Maya did not always place their most important buildings wherever the landscape happened to allow. Across the ancient cities, architects carefully considered direction, horizon lines, and the movement of the sun and other celestial bodies. Some structures were aligned with significant astronomical events, allowing light and shadow to interact with the architecture at particular times of the year. These alignments could connect the built world with the movements of the heavens, giving the city a deeper sense of order. The relationship between architecture and the sky was especially meaningful in a civilization that carefully observed the passage of time. The rising and setting of the sun, the cycles of the moon, and other celestial patterns could all become part of how sacred spaces were understood. Yet even the most carefully positioned pyramid did not stand alone. Its meaning depended partly on everything surrounding it. And at the center of many Maya cities was an enormous open space that brought the entire architectural world together. Between the temples and pyramids stretched broad ceremonial plazas, open spaces that gave the monumental architecture room to breathe. These plazas formed the heart of many Maya cities, surrounded by the buildings that carried the greatest religious and political importance. From here, the full scale of the city could be experienced at once. Pyramids rose along the edges, temples stood above the surrounding structures, and enormous stairways faced toward the open space below. The plaza also created a shared center for the community. Important ceremonies, gatherings, processions, and public events could take place within these carefully organized spaces. The buildings around the plaza were therefore not isolated monuments. Together, they formed a carefully planned architectural landscape in which every structure contributed to the meaning of the whole. Standing in the center, a person would have been surrounded by stone, forest, sky, and towering architecture, with the boundaries between the natural and built worlds becoming difficult to separate. And somewhere beneath all of this monumental stone, the story of an even older Maya world was waiting to be uncovered. The Maya built their greatest monuments from stone. Across the ancient cities, limestone was one of the most important materials, partly because it was widely available throughout the Maya world. The stone could be cut into blocks and shaped for construction, while the same limestone could also be burned to produce lime plaster. This plaster was used to cover walls, floors, stairways, and entire architectural surfaces, giving massive stone structures a smoother and more finished appearance. In some cities, buildings were covered with bright stucco and decorated with elaborate sculptures, masks, and painted details. The stone itself could therefore disappear beneath layers of plaster and color, transforming heavy blocks into monumental surfaces that once appeared far more vivid than the weathered ruins seen today. Some Maya cities also used locally available materials in different ways, depending on their environment, creating regional variations in architecture across the enormous Maya world. The monuments that survive today are only the stone framework of a much richer architectural landscape. The Maya constructed enormous monuments without steel cranes, engines, or modern lifting equipment. Instead, construction depended on human labor, simple tools, carefully organized work, and an enormous amount of time. Workers could quarry limestone using stone tools and other basic implements, then transport heavy materials across construction sites through coordinated effort. The Maya also developed sophisticated methods for shaping and placing stone, allowing massive structures to rise gradually above the surrounding landscape. Large construction projects required more than skilled builders. They depended on organized communities capable of supporting workers, supplying food, transporting materials, and maintaining the enormous effort over long periods. The scale of these monuments therefore reveals something about Maya society itself. A pyramid was not created by a single ruler or a handful of craftsmen. It represented the combined work of architects, stoneworkers, laborers, artists, religious specialists, and entire communities organized around a shared vision. And some of these projects continued for generations. Many Maya pyramids were not completed in a single construction project. Instead, some monuments grew through multiple building phases, with later generations expanding structures that had already stood for decades or even centuries. A new ruler might enlarge an existing temple, raise its platform, or construct an entirely new layer around an older monument. This gradual process allowed important buildings to become larger and more impressive over time, while preserving their connection to earlier generations. As each new layer was added, the pyramid became a physical record of the city's history. Its outer surface represented the latest period of construction, while deeper layers preserved traces of what had existed before. The result was architecture that could change without losing its past. A single monument might therefore contain the work of several rulers, separated by generations, each leaving their own contribution within the growing structure. The pyramid was not simply built once. It evolved. Sometimes the builders did not simply destroy an older monument when a new one was planned. Instead, they built directly around it. An earlier temple could be enclosed within a larger structure, leaving the older building preserved inside the expanding monument. This practice created extraordinary architectural layers, with one building hidden inside another and one period of Maya history physically surrounding the next. In some cases, archaeologists have discovered remarkably preserved interiors concealed within later construction. Painted walls, architectural details, and earlier ceremonial spaces could survive for centuries beneath the outer layers of stone. These discoveries have revealed that Maya rulers sometimes treated ancient buildings as more than outdated structures. They could become sacred remnants of the past, preserved and incorporated into the monuments of a new age. The pyramid above ground might therefore represent one moment in history, while its hidden interior quietly preserved another. Maya temples stood at the center of a world where religion, political power, and community life were deeply connected. The temple was a sacred place, but it could also represent the authority of the ruler who commissioned and maintained it. Important ceremonies brought people together in the plazas below, while rulers and religious specialists performed rituals that connected the human world with the supernatural forces they believed shaped existence. Architecture helped make this relationship visible. The ruler could appear before the community within a monumental ceremonial setting, surrounded by the buildings that represented the city's history and power. At the same time, these centers provided places where major events could be witnessed by large groups of people, turning architecture into a shared stage for public life. The temples and pyramids, therefore, carried several meanings at once. They were sacred spaces, symbols of political authority, gathering places for communities, and monuments that preserved the memory of generations. And when viewed together, the great Maya cities reveal something remarkable. Their temples were never simply buildings. They were the physical centers of an entire civilization. What? A city under the jungle? For centuries, some of the greatest Maya cities slowly disappeared beneath the forests that surrounded them. As urban centers declined or were abandoned, nature began reclaiming the streets, plazas, temples, and enormous stone monuments. Trees took root among the ancient buildings. Vines spread across walls, and layers of leaves and soil gradually covered the traces of human activity. The tropical climate accelerated this process. Warm temperatures and abundant rainfall allowed vegetation to grow rapidly, while roots gradually pushed through cracks in ancient stone. Over generations, the jungle became so dense that entire structures could disappear from view. What had once been a carefully planned city could eventually look like nothing more than a natural hill covered in trees. In some places, the forest did not simply surround the ruins, it grew directly over them. And beneath that green landscape, entire cities were waiting to be seen again. How did they find it? For a long time, the jungle itself concealed the evidence of what had once existed there. Early explorers often encountered stone structures already covered by thick vegetation, with only fragments of ancient walls or temple tops visible above the forest. Archaeologists had to clear vegetation carefully, uncover buried pathways, and follow architectural remains hidden beneath centuries of accumulated soil. In some cases, local communities already knew about ruins deep within the forest, while outsiders were unaware of their location. As archaeological exploration expanded, researchers began mapping larger and larger areas of ancient settlement. What first appeared to be an isolated temple could turn out to be part of an enormous urban landscape. Every cleared structure revealed another piece of the puzzle. A staircase could lead to a buried plaza. A stone wall could continue beneath the vegetation, and what seemed like a single forgotten monument could eventually reveal an entire lost city. What if the jungle never left? At Tikal, the relationship between the ancient city and the surrounding forest remains one of the most remarkable features of the site. The city once covered a vast area within the tropical lowlands of what is now Guatemala. Its monumental temples rose above a landscape of dense forest, while thousands of other structures extended far beyond the most famous central buildings. Today, the jungle still surrounds the ancient city. From the tops of the tallest temples, the forest stretches toward the horizon like an endless green sea, with only distant stone monuments rising above the canopy. This landscape helps reveal something important about ancient Tikal. The Maya did not build their cities in an empty environment. They lived within a complex tropical ecosystem where forests, wetlands, wildlife, and human settlements existed together. The jungle that now appears to hide Tikal was always part of its world. What if the ruins are still alive? Palenque lies within a landscape where ancient stone architecture and rainforest appear almost inseparable. The site is surrounded by the humid tropical forests of southern Mexico, where rainfall and vegetation have shaped the environment for thousands of years. Streams and waterfalls flow through the surrounding landscape, creating a setting very different from the dry image many people imagine when they think of ancient ruins. The rainforest also helped preserve the feeling of a city emerging from nature. Stone temples rise between towering trees, while moss and vegetation cover parts of the ancient landscape. The natural environment was not simply a backdrop to Palenque. Water, forests, and the surrounding mountains were part of the world in which the city existed. Today, the combination creates one of the most atmospheric archaeological landscapes in the Maya world. How big was the city? Deep within the forests of the Yucatan Peninsula lies Calakmul, one of the largest and most important ancient Maya cities ever discovered. Its ruins are spread across an enormous area, with thousands of ancient structures hidden among the surrounding forest. Only a small portion of this vast urban landscape is immediately visible to visitors. Much of the ancient city remains surrounded by dense vegetation, making it difficult to understand its full scale from the ground. The monumental center contains enormous pyramids that once dominated the surrounding landscape, while residential areas and smaller structures extended far beyond them. From the highest temple, the forest seems almost endless. Yet beneath that green canopy lies the evidence of a city that once supported a complex society, connected by roads, plazas, buildings, and countless structures spread across the landscape. Calakmul reminds us that the ruins we see today may represent only a fraction of what the ancient Maya world once contained. Centuries of tropical weather slowly transformed the Maya buildings that remained in the forest. Heavy rainfall washed across limestone surfaces, while humidity encouraged moss and other vegetation to grow over exposed stone. Tree roots created some of the most dramatic changes. As enormous trees matured, their roots could spread across walls, push between individual stones, and sometimes grow directly over ancient structures. Fallen leaves and organic material gradually accumulated in plazas, stairways, and rooms, creating new layers of soil where none had existed before. The buildings themselves also weathered differently depending on their location. Exposed stone surfaces suffered from rain and erosion, while sheltered areas could preserve traces of ancient plaster and painted decoration. Over hundreds of years, the jungle did not simply cover the ruins. It became part of their physical history. Archaeology in a tropical rainforest can be far more difficult than simply finding an ancient building. Dense vegetation can obscure structures within a matter of years, while constant humidity creates difficult conditions for both people and equipment. Researchers often have to work through thick undergrowth, uneven ground, mud, insects, and intense heat. Even reaching a site can require long journeys through remote forest. Once archaeologists arrive, the work must be done carefully. Removing vegetation too quickly can damage fragile walls, while clearing too much of the surrounding environment can disturb the very landscape that helped preserve the site. Rain can also interrupt excavation and quickly refill trenches with water. For archaeologists, discovering a structure is only the beginning. Understanding it requires patience, careful documentation, and years of work in an environment that is constantly changing. From above, the forest can reveal patterns that are almost impossible to see from the ground. Modern LiDAR technology has transformed the way researchers study ancient Maya landscapes. The system sends pulses of laser light toward the ground from an aircraft, measuring the time it takes for the signals to return. Some of those pulses pass between gaps in the forest canopy and reach the ground below. By processing millions of measurements, researchers can create detailed models of the terrain while filtering away much of the vegetation. The result can reveal features hidden beneath the trees, including foundations, terraces, reservoirs, roads, and enormous networks of ancient settlement. In places where the forest appears almost untouched, the ground beneath it can tell a very different story. What looks like wilderness from above may actually be an ancient landscape shaped by generations of Maya people. The hidden landscape of the Maya was connected by roads that could stretch far beyond the central buildings of a city. Some of these raised pathways, known as sakbiob, were constructed above the surrounding ground and surfaced with carefully placed limestone material. They connected important buildings, plazas, and sometimes entire settlements. Their presence reveals that Maya cities were not isolated collections of monuments. They were parts of larger networks where people, goods, and information could move across the landscape. Some roads were remarkably straight, crossing difficult terrain and continuing through areas that today appear completely dominated by forest. Other features discovered beneath the vegetation include terraces, reservoirs, agricultural areas, and residential compounds. Together, these discoveries reveal that the ancient Maya transformed much more of the landscape than the surviving monumental buildings alone might suggest. The jungle hides not just buildings, it hides an entire infrastructure. The story of the Maya is still changing because the landscape continues to reveal new evidence. Archaeologists are not simply discovering completely unknown cities. They are also discovering new information about places that have been studied for generations. New technology can reveal structures that earlier researchers could not see. Fresh excavations can uncover rooms, burials, inscriptions, and objects hidden beneath layers of soil. Even a familiar monument can change its meaning when new evidence is found nearby. A previously overlooked road may reveal connections between distant parts of a city. An ancient reservoir may provide clues about how people survived long dry seasons. A residential area may show that the city was far larger than its monumental center suggested. Piece by piece, these discoveries continue to reshape our understanding of Maya civilization. And the remarkable part is that the forest still holds much of the story. Sound writing? The Maya developed one of the most advanced writing systems ever created in the ancient Americas. Unlike simple symbols that represented only objects or ideas, Maya writing could accurately record spoken language. Skilled scribes combined hundreds of carefully designed glyphs to preserve names, conversations, royal titles, ceremonies, historical events, and religious beliefs with remarkable precision. Their writing appeared on towering stone monuments, painted ceramic vessels, carved jade ornaments, wooden lintels, and folding bark paper books known as codices. Becoming a scribe required years of education, as students had to memorize hundreds of different glyphs and understand how they worked together. Only a small number of highly trained individuals possessed this knowledge, making writing both a respected profession and an important responsibility. Every inscription was carefully planned because its purpose was not simply to communicate in the present, but to preserve memories for generations that had not yet been born. The remarkable flexibility of Maya writing came from the way two different types of symbols worked together. Some glyphs represented complete words or important ideas, while others represented individual sounds or syllables that could be combined to build new words. Modern scholars describe these as logograms and phonetic signs. Rather than choosing only one method, Maya scribes blended both into a single elegant system. A familiar word could be written with a single logogram, while an unfamiliar name could be carefully assembled from several phonetic glyphs. Sometimes the same word appeared in different forms depending on artistic style, available space, or regional tradition. This flexibility allowed scribes to record complex language while also creating beautifully balanced inscriptions. The result was a writing system that was both highly practical and visually sophisticated, combining communication with artistic expression in almost every carved monument. One of the greatest achievements of Maya writing was its ability to preserve individual identities across centuries. Kings, queens, nobles, priests, cities, and even specific places could all be recorded with impressive accuracy. Scribes carefully selected combinations of logograms and phonetic glyphs to represent personal names that were unique to each ruler. These names appeared repeatedly on monuments, linking important people to ceremonies, political alliances, victories, and major events throughout their lives. Because many inscriptions also included family relationships, modern researchers have been able to reconstruct royal genealogies spanning hundreds of years. Instead of anonymous figures carved into stone, the Maya left behind recognizable individuals whose lives can still be followed through surviving inscriptions. Their written names continue to connect the modern world with people who lived more than 1,000 years ago. For the Maya, writing served as a permanent record of history rather than a simple decoration carved into stone. Important events were carefully documented so future generations could remember when they happened and who took part in them. Monumental inscriptions recorded royal accessions, military victories, diplomatic alliances, religious ceremonies, temple dedications, and significant calendar dates with extraordinary attention to detail. Many monuments presented these events in chronological order, allowing historians to reconstruct long sequences of political history across multiple generations. Unlike spoken stories that gradually change over time, carved inscriptions preserved official records in durable limestone intended to survive for centuries. Even today, these monuments continue to reveal new historical information as researchers improve their understanding of Maya writing. Every newly deciphered inscription adds another piece to the remarkable story of one of the world's greatest ancient civilizations. Royal families understood that preserving the memory of their ancestors strengthened their own authority. For this reason, Maya inscriptions often recorded long dynastic histories that connected each new ruler with generations of earlier kings and queens. Monuments identified parents, grandparents, and distinguished ancestors, creating written family trees that sometimes extended across several centuries. By linking themselves to respected rulers of the past, newly crowned kings demonstrated that their right to govern formed part of an unbroken royal tradition. These genealogical records also help modern historians understand political relationships between neighboring kingdoms, marriages between powerful dynasties, and periods of stability or conflict throughout Maya history. Thanks to the remarkable precision of these inscriptions, many ancient royal lineages can now be reconstructed in surprising detail. The carved monuments became far more than works of architecture. They became the enduring memory of entire kingdoms and the people who ruled them. Writing occupied a special place within Maya society, and the people who mastered it belonged to one of its most respected professions. Scribes were far more than individuals who simply copied symbols onto stone or paper. They were educated specialists who understood language, religion, history, astronomy, and the complex calendar system that shaped daily life. Many served directly within royal courts, where they documented important ceremonies, political alliances, and events that defined the kingdom. Years of study were required before a student could become a skilled scribe, as hundreds of individual glyphs had to be memorized and combined correctly. Their work demanded patience, precision, and artistic ability, since inscriptions were expected to be both accurate and visually beautiful. Through their careful writing, scribes preserved knowledge that allowed future generations, and eventually modern historians, to understand the remarkable achievements of Maya civilization. Maya writing appeared in many different places, reflecting its importance throughout society. Monumental inscriptions covered towering stone stelae that stood in ceremonial plazas, while temple stairways and palace walls displayed carefully carved historical records. Smaller texts decorated painted ceramic vessels used during feasts and religious ceremonies, often identifying their owners or describing their purpose. Precious jade ornaments also carried inscriptions that connected valuable objects with important individuals. Wooden beams placed above temple doorways sometimes preserved beautifully carved glyphs, although few survived the humid climate. Perhaps the most remarkable examples appeared inside folding bark paper books, where scribes combined writing with colorful illustrations to record astronomy, rituals, and calendar knowledge. Together, these different forms of writing transformed nearly every important object into a lasting record of Maya culture, allowing history, religion, and political authority to be preserved in many different ways. Although the Maya produced many beautifully illustrated books, only a tiny number have survived to the present day. Most codices were created from the inner bark of fig trees, coated with a smooth layer of lime plaster that provided an excellent writing surface. While carefully made, these materials remained vulnerable to centuries of tropical humidity, insects, mold, and gradual decay. Many manuscripts simply deteriorated after being abandoned within the rainforest environment. Others disappeared during the upheavals that followed European contact in the 16th century, when numerous indigenous books were deliberately misunderstood or considered incompatible with the beliefs of the newcomers. As a result, an enormous amount of Maya literature vanished forever. Today, only a handful of authentic codices remain, offering rare glimpses into a written tradition that once preserved centuries of scientific knowledge, religious practice, and historical memory. While fragile books largely disappeared, thousands of inscriptions carved into stone endured through the centuries. Maya craftsmen cut many glyphs deeply into limestone monuments, making them surprisingly resistant to weathering even after long exposure to tropical conditions. Although wind, rain, and plant growth gradually softened some details, the overall inscriptions often remained readable because of the remarkable care taken during their creation. Many monuments also collapsed beneath layers of soil and vegetation, unintentionally protecting their carved surfaces from further damage. As archaeologists gradually uncovered these forgotten cities, they found countless stelae, stairways, temple walls, and altars still bearing historical texts. Each newly discovered inscription added another piece to the enormous historical puzzle. Without these surviving stone records, much of what we know about Maya rulers, cities, and political history would have disappeared along with the lost codices. For many centuries, the carved Maya glyphs remained silent because no one understood how to read them. Early explorers copied the inscriptions with great care, but their meaning remained largely unknown. During the 20th century, researchers gradually recognized that the script combined logograms with phonetic signs, allowing spoken language to be reconstructed one inscription at a time. As more texts were deciphered, forgotten rulers recovered their names, ancient cities regained their histories, and long sequences of political events emerged from monuments that had stood quietly for centuries. Every successful decipherment transformed isolated archaeological discoveries into connected historical narratives. Today, Maya writing continues to reshape our understanding of one of the world's greatest civilizations. Each newly translated inscription reminds us that the stones were never truly silent. They had simply been waiting for someone to understand their language. Pictures, or words. At first glance, Maya hieroglyphs resemble tiny works of art rather than a writing system. Many signs display carefully carved human faces, animal heads, birds, hands, plants, or beautifully stylized geometric forms. Each glyph was designed with remarkable attention to balance and proportion, making inscriptions appear as decorative compositions long before their meaning was understood. Yet these elegant carvings were never created simply to decorate temples or monuments. Every detail carried purpose, and even the smallest element could contribute to the meaning of the text. Skilled scribes varied the artistic appearance of individual glyphs while preserving their recognizable structure, allowing different versions of the same sign to remain readable. Some glyphs were highly detailed, while others appeared in simplified forms, depending on the available space. This combination of artistic freedom and strict visual consistency gave Maya inscriptions a unique appearance unlike any other ancient writing system, where beauty and communication existed together in perfect harmony. Although Maya hieroglyphs often resembled pictures, they were never intended to function as simple illustrations. A carved bird did not always represent a bird, and a human face did not necessarily refer to a person. Instead, many signs carried abstract meanings or represented spoken sounds that could be combined into complete words. This distinction made the writing system far more sophisticated than early explorers first believed. For centuries, scholars assumed the glyphs were purely symbolic, preventing them from understanding the language hidden within the inscriptions. Only later did researchers recognize that many signs performed multiple roles depending on the surrounding glyphs. The same beautifully carved image could represent an object in one inscription, a sound in another, or even serve as part of a royal name. Understanding this remarkable flexibility became one of the greatest breakthroughs in deciphering Maya writing and transformed countless decorative carvings into meaningful historical records. One of the most fascinating characteristics of Maya hieroglyphs was their ability to represent either an idea or a spoken sound. A single sign could function as a complete word in one inscription, while representing only a syllable in another. Scribes selected the appropriate meaning according to the surrounding glyphs, much like readers today understand a familiar word from its context. This flexibility allowed the writing system to express an enormous variety of names, places, titles, and historical events without requiring thousands of completely different symbols. Phonetic signs also helped clarify pronunciation whenever a logogram might be interpreted in more than one way. Rather than creating confusion, this combination of meanings made the script remarkably efficient and adaptable. The Maya understood how to balance artistic design with linguistic precision, producing inscriptions that could be both visually elegant and surprisingly accurate representations of spoken language. Reading Maya hieroglyphs required far more than recognizing individual symbols. Scribes learned to identify complete glyph blocks, understand the relationship between neighboring signs, and interpret both visual and phonetic information at the same time. Inscriptions generally followed an organized reading order that guided the eye through carefully arranged columns. Experienced readers moved from left to right in paired columns before continuing downward through the remaining blocks. Within each block, several smaller glyphs combined to form a complete unit of meaning. This structured arrangement allowed long historical records to be carved onto monuments without becoming confusing or disorganized. Mastering the script demanded years of study, as readers needed to recognize hundreds of glyphs while understanding the rules that connected them. For those who possessed this knowledge, even the most elaborate temple inscription could be read as a continuous historical narrative rather than a collection of isolated images. Rather than placing individual glyphs randomly across a surface, Maya scribes organized them into carefully balanced rectangular blocks. Each block functioned as a complete unit, containing one or more signs that work together to express a word, a title, a date, or part of a sentence. The arrangement was never accidental. Larger glyphs usually occupied the main position, while smaller supporting signs filled the surrounding spaces with remarkable precision. This method allowed inscriptions to remain visually harmonious regardless of their length. Even long historical texts maintained an elegant rhythm as hundreds of blocks flowed across monuments in carefully planned sequences. Artistic beauty and readability developed together, creating inscriptions that were both informative and aesthetically balanced. Today, archaeologists often begin deciphering a monument by identifying these individual glyph blocks, since understanding their structure provides the first step toward reading the remarkable stories preserved within ancient Maya stone. Creating a hieroglyphic inscription demanded far more than artistic talent. Before the first mark was carved into limestone, scribes carefully planned the arrangement of every glyph, ensuring that the final composition would remain balanced, readable, and visually elegant. Stone artisans then transferred these carefully prepared designs onto the monument with remarkable precision. Using stone hammers and chisels made from exceptionally hard materials, they removed thin layers of limestone little by little until each line and curve appeared exactly as intended. A single mistake could disrupt an entire inscription, making patience one of the most valuable skills an artisan possessed. Many monuments required weeks or even months of careful work before completion. The finished inscriptions were expected to survive for generations, preserving important events long after the people who commissioned them had disappeared. Every carved glyph therefore represented not only language, but also extraordinary craftsmanship and lasting cultural memory. Although Maya writing followed shared principles across the civilization, individual cities gradually developed recognizable artistic styles. Skilled scribes and stone carvers interpreted familiar glyphs with subtle regional variations, giving monuments from different kingdoms their own visual character. Some cities favored highly detailed portraits with elaborate facial features, while others preferred cleaner geometric forms that emphasized clarity over decoration. Differences could also be seen in the proportions of glyph blocks, the decorative borders surrounding inscriptions, and the way important royal names were presented. Despite these variations, educated scribes could still understand texts created hundreds of kilometers away, because the underlying structure of the writing system remained remarkably consistent. These regional styles provide valuable clues for archaeologists today, helping identify where damaged monuments were carved even when their original location is uncertain. Artistic diversity, therefore, became another layer of information, preserved within the writing itself. Unlike many ancient writing systems, Maya hieroglyphs were designed to be admired as much as they were meant to be read. Scribes carefully balanced artistic beauty with linguistic precision, transforming inscriptions into works of visual art. Human faces, animals, mythical beings, and symbolic patterns blended naturally with written language, creating monuments where decoration and communication became inseparable. Rather than placing text in empty spaces after construction, architects often designed entire temple facades around the inscriptions themselves. This close relationship between architecture, sculpture, and writing produced monuments that conveyed information on several levels at once. Even someone unable to read the glyphs could immediately recognize the importance of a monument through its remarkable artistic quality. For those who understood the script, however, every beautifully carved surface also revealed detailed historical records, royal achievements, and religious traditions preserved within the elegant composition. Despite decades of remarkable progress, not every Maya hieroglyph has been fully understood. Some inscriptions survive only in fragments after centuries of erosion, making individual signs difficult to identify with complete certainty. Others contain rare glyphs that appear only once or twice across the entire known collection of Maya texts, leaving researchers with very little evidence for interpretation. In some cases, damaged monuments preserve only part of a sentence, forcing scholars to compare similar inscriptions from distant cities in search of missing information. New discoveries continue to improve this understanding, especially as additional monuments emerge from archaeological excavations throughout Central America. Each newly documented inscription has the potential to clarify previously unknown words or confirm earlier interpretations. The process of decipherment, therefore, remains active today, reminding us that the story of Maya writing is still unfolding with every new discovery. Across hundreds of years, Maya scribes carved millions of carefully shaped lines into stone, transforming language into one of the civilization's most enduring achievements. Every monument preserved far more than names or dates. Together, these inscriptions recorded political history, religious beliefs, astronomical observations, family relationships, ceremonial traditions, and the lives of countless individuals whose voices might otherwise have disappeared forever. Although many texts have been lost, the surviving monuments still represent one of the richest historical archives left by any ancient civilization in the Americas. Modern technology continues to reveal new details hidden within these remarkable inscriptions, allowing researchers to reconstruct stories that remained silent for centuries. Each deciphered glyph strengthens the connection between the modern world and the people who created this extraordinary writing system. Long after their cities fell quiet, their words continue to speak through the stone. 20 number system? Most civilizations developed number systems based on 10, likely because humans naturally counted on their fingers. The Maya, however, organized their mathematics around the number 20, creating one of the most sophisticated numerical systems of the ancient world. Historians believe this choice may have reflected counting with both fingers and toes, although its exact origin remains uncertain. Rather than seeing 20 as unusual, Maya mathematicians treated it as the natural foundation for counting everything from daily trade to the movement of celestial bodies. Each new position represented 20 times the value of the previous one, allowing enormous numbers to be written with remarkable efficiency. This positional structure made calculations far more organized than many people imagine when thinking about ancient civilizations. Far from being a simple counting method, the vigesimal system became the mathematical language that supported calendars, astronomy, architecture, and administration throughout the Maya world. It demonstrated that advanced mathematical thinking could develop independently in completely different parts of the world. Their numbers reveal a civilization that measured far more than quantity. They measured time itself. Instead of inventing dozens of different symbols, the Maya created an elegant numerical notation using only two simple shapes. A single dot represented 1, while a horizontal bar represented 5. By combining dots above bars, they could express every number from 1 to 19 with remarkable clarity. This simple visual language allowed calculations to be performed efficiently while remaining easy to read. Numbers were arranged vertically, with each level representing a higher place value according to the base 20 system. Even large calculations could therefore remain surprisingly compact. The beauty of this notation lay in its balance between simplicity and precision. Rather than memorizing countless individual symbols, scribes relied on consistent patterns that could be recognized immediately. Archaeologists continue to admire this elegant system because it demonstrates how mathematical sophistication often emerges through simplicity rather than complexity. Every carved dot and every carefully placed bar reflected a logical structure that remained consistent across centuries of Maya civilization. Sometimes the simplest symbols preserve the greatest ideas. Shell-shaped zero? One of the Maya civilization's most remarkable achievements was the independent development of a true symbol for zero. While many ancient cultures understood the idea of nothing, few transformed that concept into a functioning mathematical value. The Maya represented zero with a distinctive shell-shaped symbol that occupied an essential place within their positional number system. Rather than indicating emptiness alone, zero marked the absence of a value while preserving the correct position of every other number. This seemingly simple innovation dramatically expanded the power of Maya mathematics. Without zero, complex calculations involving calendars and astronomy would have become far more difficult to organize accurately. Modern mathematics relies on exactly the same underlying principle. Although separated by oceans and thousands of years from other civilizations, Maya scholars arrived at a remarkably advanced mathematical solution through their own intellectual traditions. Their understanding of zero remains one of the greatest scientific accomplishments of the ancient Americas. Sometimes the most powerful number is the one that represents nothing at all. The Maya did not invent zero simply as an abstract mathematical curiosity. It became an essential tool for organizing one of the most sophisticated calendar systems of the ancient world. Because their calendars tracked enormous cycles spanning hundreds and even thousands of years. Every numerical position had to remain perfectly ordered. 0 allowed empty positions to retain their place without changing the meaning of the surrounding values. This precision proved especially important when recording ceremonial dates, astronomical observations, and historical events carved onto monuments. Even a small numerical error could shift an event by many days or longer cycles. By integrating 0 into their positional notation, Maya scribes ensured that calculations remained reliable across generations. The result was a remarkably stable chronological framework that still allows modern researchers to convert many Maya dates into our own calendar with impressive accuracy. Without 0, even time itself becomes difficult to measure. Thanks to their positional base 20 system, Maya mathematicians could write numbers far larger than those required for ordinary daily life. By stacking numerical positions vertically, they expressed values that reached far beyond simple trade or taxation. These enormous numbers became especially important when calculating astronomical cycles and recording vast periods of historical or mythical time. Rather than viewing history as a sequence of isolated events, the Maya placed human existence within immense repeating cycles that stretched across thousands of years. Their mathematical notation expanded naturally as larger values became necessary, allowing scribes to represent durations almost unimaginable in everyday experience. This ability reflected not only technical skill, but also a worldview deeply connected to cosmic order. Mathematics became a bridge between the visible world and the larger rhythms of the universe. Even today, these impressive numerical records remind us how carefully the Maya observed both time and the heavens. Their greatest calculations reached farther than most people ever imagined possible. For the Maya, mathematics and astronomy were inseparable. Every careful observation of the sun, moon, Venus, and the brightest stars depended on accurate counting over long periods of time. Priests and astronomers recorded repeating celestial cycles and compared them with previous observations, gradually recognizing patterns that returned again and again. These calculations allowed them to predict important astronomical events with remarkable precision for their time. The movements of Venus were especially significant, as this brilliant planet played an important role in ceremonial life and the timing of certain rituals. Accurate mathematical records helped reduce errors that would otherwise grow larger with every passing year. Instead of relying on guesswork, Maya scholars trusted carefully maintained numerical sequences built over generations of observation. Their understanding of the heavens was supported not only by patient watching, but also by disciplined calculation. Every number brought the sky a little closer to human understanding. The Maya calendar was far more than a way to count ordinary days. It combined several repeating cycles that worked together like the gears of an intricate clock. Mathematics made it possible to keep these cycles synchronized over long periods without losing their relationship to one another. Different calendars served different purposes, including agriculture, religious ceremonies, and historical record keeping. By assigning numerical values to each passing day, Maya scholars could identify meaningful combinations that returned only after long intervals. This careful organization required consistent calculations and an advanced understanding of numerical patterns. Rather than viewing time as a straight line, the Maya understood it as a series of repeating cycles, each with its own rhythm and significance. Their mathematical system allowed these cycles to remain organized across centuries. For the Maya, every passing day belonged to a much larger pattern. Although Maya mathematics is often associated with astronomy and calendars, it also supported many ordinary activities of daily life. Merchants counted goods exchanged in marketplaces, builders measured construction materials, and farmers organized harvests using reliable numerical methods. Scribes recorded tribute, inventories, and important transactions with the same logical system used for more complex calculations. Numbers helped communities distribute resources, organize labor, and manage the growing needs of large cities. The consistency of their mathematical notation reduced confusion and allowed information to remain understandable over time. Even simple daily decisions became more reliable when supported by careful counting. Mathematics was therefore not limited to scholars or priests. It quietly influenced countless practical tasks performed throughout Maya society. The greatest inventions often become invisible because they are used every single day. Tracking long periods of time required extraordinary consistency. Small mistakes that seemed insignificant in a single year could become major errors after many decades or even centuries. Maya mathematicians developed numerical methods that allowed long sequences of days to remain accurately organized across generations. Their calculations preserved historical dates, ceremonial anniversaries, and astronomical observations without losing their correct relationships. This precision became especially valuable when comparing events separated by hundreds of years. Rather than relying on memory alone, written calculations created a dependable framework that future generations could continue using. The ability to measure immense spans of time reflected both mathematical skill and remarkable patience. Every carefully recorded number contributed to a larger system designed to outlast individual lifetimes. Some calculations were meant to serve people who had not yet been born. Today, the mathematical achievements of the Maya are recognized as one of the greatest intellectual accomplishments of the ancient Americas. Their base 20 number system, positional notation, independent concept of zero, and precise calculations demonstrate a level of sophistication that continues to impress historians and mathematicians alike. These discoveries were developed without influence from the mathematical traditions of Europe or Asia, showing that advanced scientific thinking can emerge independently in different parts of the world. Modern archaeology continues to reveal new evidence of how deeply mathematics shaped Maya society, from architecture and astronomy to administration and historical record-keeping. Every carved numeral reminds us that knowledge can survive for centuries when preserved with care. The Maya left behind more than monuments. They left behind a way of understanding the world through numbers. Their mathematics continues to count long after their civilization fell silent. Not one, but many. Unlike many ancient civilizations that united under a single ruler, the Maya world was divided into numerous independent kingdoms. Each major city functioned as its own political center, governed by a king who ruled the surrounding territory. These kingdoms cooperated at times through trade, diplomacy, or marriage, but they also competed for influence, prestige, and valuable resources. Powerful cities expanded their authority over neighboring communities, while smaller kingdoms formed alliances for protection. Although they shared a common culture, religion, writing system, and many traditions, there was never a single government controlling the entire Maya world. Instead, political power remained distributed among dozens of royal courts spread across Mesoamerica. This decentralized structure allowed different cities to flourish at different times, creating a constantly changing political landscape that lasted for centuries. The history of the Maya is therefore not the story of one empire, but of many interconnected kingdoms, each following its own path while remaining part of a larger civilization. Together, these kingdoms created one of the most remarkable civilizations of the ancient world. Many people imagine that every great civilization was ruled by a single emperor, but the Maya followed a different path. No king ever governed all Maya cities at once. Instead, each kingdom protected its own independence while recognizing the authority of its local ruler. Some kings became extremely powerful, extending their influence far beyond their own cities through military victories or political alliances. Yet even the strongest rulers never created a permanent empire, embracing the entire Maya world. Geography also played an important role. Dense tropical forests, mountain ranges, and long distances naturally separated many kingdoms, making centralized government difficult to maintain. As a result, political leadership remained regional rather than universal. This independence encouraged both rivalry and innovation, allowing different cities to develop their own traditions while still sharing a common cultural identity. The Maya world remained united by language, religion, trade, and knowledge, not by a single throne. Sometimes a civilization grows strongest without one ruler controlling everything. Every major Maya city possessed its own royal court, where the king governed alongside nobles, priests, military leaders, and skilled scribes. These city-states varied greatly in size and influence. Some ruled only nearby villages, while others controlled extensive territories connected by trade routes and alliances. The king represented the highest political authority within his own kingdom, making decisions that affected diplomacy, warfare, construction projects, and important ceremonies. Royal palaces became centers of administration, where tribute was collected, official records were maintained, and visitors from other kingdoms were received. Competition between neighboring cities encouraged the construction of increasingly impressive temples, monuments, and public spaces that demonstrated each ruler's prestige. Although conflicts sometimes erupted, diplomacy remained equally important, with marriages and formal alliances helping maintain periods of stability. Each city-state therefore developed its own unique history while contributing to the broader story of Maya civilization. Every city told its own chapter of the Maya world. Royal authority usually passed from one generation to the next through carefully established family lines. Sons often inherited the throne from their fathers, although succession could become complicated when several heirs possessed legitimate claims. Royal bloodlines were considered essential because they connected each ruler to respected ancestors whose achievements strengthened the dynasty's legitimacy. Young princes were prepared for leadership from an early age, learning history, religion, diplomacy, military traditions, and ceremonial responsibilities long before they became kings themselves. Public monuments frequently recorded family relationships to demonstrate that each new ruler belonged to an unbroken royal lineage. When succession proceeded peacefully, kingdoms often experienced long periods of stability. However, disputed inheritance occasionally led to political conflict as rival branches of royal families competed for power. Maintaining dynastic continuity therefore became one of the greatest priorities of every Maya court. For the Maya, a kingdom's future often depended upon its family history. Maya kings were not only political leaders, but also central figures in religious life. They presided over important ceremonies that honored the gods, celebrated the calendar, and reinforced the spiritual order believed to sustain the world. Public rituals often took place before large crowds gathered in ceremonial plazas, where the king performed sacred duties alongside priests. These events strengthened the connection between royal authority and divine approval, reminding the population that leadership carried both political and spiritual responsibilities. Ceremonial clothing, elaborate headdresses, and symbolic objects reflected the ruler's special role during these occasions. Through ritual, kings demonstrated their obligation to maintain harmony between humanity, nature, and the gods. Their authority therefore extended beyond government into the sacred traditions that shaped everyday life throughout Maya society. A Maya king ruled both the kingdom and its sacred ceremonies. Across the Maya world, monumental architecture served a purpose far greater than simply providing places for ceremonies or public gatherings. Every towering pyramid, expansive palace, and carefully designed plaza also communicated the strength and authority of the ruler who commissioned its construction. Building projects required enormous amounts of stone, timber, labor, and careful planning, making them visible demonstrations of a kingdom's wealth and organizational ability. Thousands of workers often participated over many years, transporting limestone blocks, shaping decorative carvings, and expanding ceremonial centers generation after generation. Each completed structure reminded visitors that the king possessed the resources and influence to organize such extraordinary achievements. New temples were frequently dedicated during important moments of a ruler's reign, reinforcing political legitimacy while celebrating religious traditions. These monuments were therefore not only architectural masterpieces, but also lasting symbols of royal prestige that could be seen from great distances. Long after a king was gone, his monuments continued to speak for him. Although the Maya shared many cultural traditions, peace did not always exist between neighboring kingdoms. Rival cities frequently competed for influence, valuable trade routes, fertile farmland, and political prestige. Conflicts ranged from small border disputes to larger military campaigns that reshaped regional power for decades. Victorious rulers often captured important nobles or rival kings rather than attempting to conquer vast territories permanently. These prisoners sometimes appeared on carved monuments, celebrating military success and reinforcing the ruler's reputation. Warfare was therefore closely connected with politics, diplomacy, and ceremonial life, rather than simple territorial expansion. Alliances shifted over time, and kingdoms that were once enemies could later become valuable partners. Archaeological evidence suggests that periods of conflict were often followed by years of rebuilding and renewed prosperity. Rather than existing in constant warfare, the Maya experienced an ever-changing balance between competition and cooperation. Every victory changed the political map without creating a single empire. Not every political relationship was shaped through conflict. Many Maya kingdoms strengthened their positions by forming alliances with neighboring rulers, creating networks of cooperation that could last for generations. Royal marriages played an especially important role, connecting influential families and establishing bonds between distant cities. These dynastic relationships encouraged trade, reduced the likelihood of conflict, and provided mutual support during periods of political uncertainty. Noble families carefully preserved genealogies that demonstrated these prestigious connections, reinforcing the legitimacy of future rulers. Diplomatic visits, ceremonial exchanges, and shared religious events further strengthened these alliances. Even when political circumstances changed, family relationships often continued to influence regional affairs for many years. The Maya understood that lasting stability could sometimes be achieved more effectively through cooperation than conquest. Their political world was therefore shaped not only by battles, but also by carefully maintained relationships between powerful dynasties. Sometimes the strongest kingdoms were connected not by war, but by family. Maya rulers carefully preserved the stories of their reigns by commissioning inscriptions on monuments, temple stairways, palace walls, and carved stone stelae. These texts recorded royal accessions, victories, ceremonies, alliances, and important historical events with remarkable precision. Rather than leaving their achievements to memory alone, kings transformed stone into permanent historical records that could survive for centuries. Skilled scribes worked closely with royal courts to ensure that dates, names, and family relationships were accurately recorded according to the Maya writing system and calendar. Public monuments allowed future generations to witness the accomplishments of earlier rulers while strengthening the authority of their descendants. Although these inscriptions often emphasized success, they also preserved invaluable historical details that modern scholars continue to study today. Without this tradition of recording history, much of Maya political life would have disappeared forever. Stone became the memory of an entire civilization. Much of what historians know about Maya rulers comes directly from the inscriptions, monuments, and archaeological discoveries that have survived the passage of time. During the last several decades, advances in deciphering the Maya writing system have transformed silent carvings into readable historical documents. Scholars can now identify the names of individual kings, trace family lineages, reconstruct political alliances, and even establish the precise dates of important events. Excavations continue to reveal new monuments that expand our understanding of kingdoms once thought to be only partially known. Modern technologies such as LiDAR and digital imaging also help researchers discover hidden structures and damaged inscriptions that were previously impossible to study. Every new discovery adds another piece to a historical puzzle that continues to grow more complete. The voices of Maya rulers were never truly lost. They simply waited for someone to learn how to read them again. History becomes clearer each time another ancient inscription reveals its story. Woven walls? Most Maya families did not live inside great stone palaces or beside towering pyramids. Their homes were simple, practical structures built from materials gathered in the surrounding landscape. Wooden poles formed the framework, woven branches created the walls, and thick roofs of palm leaves or grass protected the family from heavy tropical rain and intense sunlight. These houses were designed to remain cool during the hottest hours of the day, while allowing fresh air to circulate freely. Many stood upon low stone platforms that helped protect the living space from seasonal flooding and damp ground. Inside, the furnishings were surprisingly modest. Hammocks provided comfortable places to sleep, pottery vessels stored food and water, while woven baskets held everyday tools and harvested crops. Outside the house, small gardens and cooking areas became extensions of daily life, where much of the family's work took place. Although these homes have rarely survived the passing centuries, archaeology allows us to reconstruct how millions of ordinary Maya people once lived in comfort with the environment around them. The greatest civilization was built upon countless ordinary homes. Family formed the foundation of Maya society, and daily life revolved around cooperation between generations living closely together. Parents, children, grandparents, and relatives often shared responsibilities that ensured the household could provide food, clothing, shelter, and security throughout the year. Each member contributed according to age and experience. Adults worked in the fields, prepared meals, crafted tools, and maintained the home, while older children gradually learned these same skills by observing and assisting their parents. Shared meals and daily routines strengthened family bonds while passing knowledge from one generation to the next. Respect for elders played an important role, as older family members preserved valuable experience about farming, traditions, and community life. The household functioned not only as a place to live, but also as the first school where practical knowledge and cultural values were quietly passed on through everyday activities. In many ways, the strength of Maya civilizations began within these close family relationships. Every generation quietly prepared the next to continue the story. The clothing worn by ordinary Maya people reflected both the warm tropical climate and the practical needs of everyday life. Most garments were woven from cotton or other natural fibers that remained comfortable in the heat, while allowing freedom of movement during work. Men commonly wore simple loincloths, sometimes accompanied by lightweight cloaks for special occasions, while women often dressed in beautifully woven tunics decorated with colorful patterns unique to their local communities. Clothing was usually handmade within the household, requiring countless hours of spinning thread, weaving fabric, and carefully adding embroidered designs. Natural dyes produced shades of red, blue, yellow, and black using plants, minerals, and insects found throughout Mesoamerica. Jewelry made from shell, jade, bone, or carved stone sometimes completed everyday dress, although elaborate ornaments remained largely reserved for the nobility. Even simple clothing reflected remarkable craftsmanship passed down through generations of skilled weavers. Every woven thread carried both beauty and tradition. Within Maya society, the family represented far more than a group of relatives living together. It formed the basic social unit through which responsibilities, traditions, occupations, and beliefs were passed from one generation to another. Parents taught practical skills that allowed children to contribute to the household as they grew older, while grandparents preserved stories and customs that strengthened the family's identity. Cooperation remained essential because many daily tasks required the combined efforts of several people. Farming, house construction, food preparation, weaving, and craft production all depended upon shared work and mutual support. Families also participated together in community celebrations and religious ceremonies, reinforcing connections that extended beyond the household itself. Through these relationships, every individual became part of a wider network linking villages, relatives, and neighboring communities. Strong families helped create stable communities, and stable communities helped sustain the civilization for centuries. The strength of a civilization often begins at home. Childhood among the Maya was closely connected with learning through observation and participation rather than formal classrooms. From an early age, children accompanied their parents during everyday activities, gradually acquiring practical skills by watching experienced family members at work. Young boys often learned farming, fishing, hunting, or construction techniques, while girls commonly developed weaving, food preparation, pottery making, and household management, although responsibilities could vary between communities. Play also served an important educational purpose, helping children develop coordination, cooperation, and problem-solving abilities. Respect, responsibility, and contribution to the family were encouraged from an early age, preparing each generation for adult life within the community. Knowledge was passed naturally through conversation, demonstration, and daily experience rather than written instruction. By growing up surrounded by skilled relatives, children absorbed traditions that had already endured for centuries. Every child carried the future of Maya knowledge into the next generation. For most Maya people, daily life was shaped by work that connected the household directly to the surrounding landscape. Farming was one of the most important occupations, with families growing maize, beans, squash, chili peppers, and other crops suited to their local environment. But agricultural work was only one part of a much wider economy. Some people became skilled hunters or fishermen, while others gathered fruits, plants, firewood, and other useful materials from nearby forests. Builders, potters, weavers, stone workers, and tool makers developed specialized skills that were valuable to their communities. Traders carried goods between settlements, sometimes traveling considerable distances to exchange food, salt, pottery, textiles, obsidian, jade, and other resources. Much of this work was organized around the needs of families and communities, rather than a single profession performed in isolation. A person's daily responsibilities could change with the seasons, the needs of the household, and the resources available nearby. For ordinary Maya people, survival was a skill practiced every day. Craftsmanship was woven deeply into Maya life because many objects used every day required knowledge, patience, and considerable skill to produce. Potters shaped vessels from clay for cooking, storing food, carrying water, and serving meals, while specialized artisans created more carefully decorated pieces for ceremonies and important households. Weavers transformed cotton and other fibers into clothing and textiles, using techniques that could produce both practical garments and elaborate patterns. Stone workers shaped limestone for buildings, while other skilled craftspeople worked with materials such as shell, bone, wood, obsidian, and jade. These materials were not equally available everywhere, which made some finished objects valuable beyond their practical purpose. Craft production could also become specialized, with experienced artisans passing techniques from one generation to another. The objects they created provide archaeologists today with clues about technology, trade, social status, and everyday habits. A simple vessel may reveal how food was prepared, while a finely carved ornament can tell a much larger story about Maya society. What they made with their hands still speaks to us today. A typical day in a Maya settlement began with the rhythms of the household rather than the schedule of a clock. As the tropical morning became brighter, families prepared food, tended small household gardens, and organized the work that needed to be completed before the hottest part of the day. Farmers left for nearby fields, while others remained in the settlement to prepare meals, weave, make pottery, repair tools, or care for children. Water had to be collected, food processed, and household equipment maintained, creating a steady sequence of practical tasks. Maize was particularly important, and preparing it for meals involved several stages before it could become the foods eaten by the family. As the afternoon heat intensified, some activities became slower and more sheltered. Later, people returned from fields or workshops, animals and tools were attended to, and families gathered around food and conversation. The details varied between regions and periods, but daily life followed the same basic rhythm of work, rest, cooperation, and preparation for the following day. Long before the cities became ruins, life moved to the rhythm of ordinary days. Not every Maya person experienced daily life in the same way. Social position influenced where people lived, what work they performed, what objects they possessed, and how closely they interacted with political and religious institutions. Members of ruling families lived within palace complexes and had access to elaborate clothing, finely crafted ornaments, specialized foods, and ceremonial spaces unavailable to most households. Skilled specialists and prosperous families could enjoy greater material comfort, while farmers and laborers depended much more directly on the land and seasonal harvests. Yet these differences did not create completely separate worlds. Large projects required cooperation between many levels of society, from farmers producing food to craftspeople making tools and workers transporting materials. Religious ceremonies and public gatherings could also bring different groups together within the same urban centers. Archaeological evidence reveals these contrasts through house size, building materials, burial objects, pottery, and other remains. The Maya world was therefore not a society of identical households, but a complex network in which people lived very different lives within the same civilization. The same city could contain worlds that looked completely different. A great Maya city was far more than the palace where its rulers lived. Beyond the monumental buildings stretched neighborhoods filled with ordinary homes, workshops, storage areas, gardens, pathways, and spaces where people worked and gathered. Some residents lived close to ceremonial centers, while others occupied quieter areas farther from the monumental core. Streets and pathways connected these neighborhoods with markets, public plazas, water sources, fields, and places of craft production. Daily activity could therefore continue across the city, even when ceremonies were taking place at the central monuments. Markets and trading areas brought together people carrying food, pottery, textiles, tools, and other goods, creating a constant exchange of products and information. Behind the impressive temples and palaces was an enormous population whose labor kept the city functioning. Farmers supplied food, craftspeople produced essential objects, builders maintained structures, and traders connected the settlement with distant regions. The surviving monuments may dominate the modern landscape, but they represent only one part of the ancient city. Behind every Maya monument was a city full of ordinary lives. Maize was far more than just another crop in the Maya world. It was one of the foundations of daily life, providing a dependable source of food across many generations and becoming deeply connected with Maya culture and belief. Farmers cultivated different varieties suited to local conditions, while households processed the harvested grain into foods that could be eaten throughout the year. Preparing maize required considerable work. The kernels were commonly treated with an alkaline substance before grinding, a process that softened the grain and made its nutrients more accessible. Women often transformed the prepared maize into dough, which could then become tortillas, tamales, and other staple foods. Because maize could be stored and transported, it also helped communities manage food supplies beyond the immediate harvest season. Its importance reached beyond the kitchen as well. Maya stories and religious traditions repeatedly connected human existence with maize, making the crop part of a much larger cultural world. For the Maya, maize was food, tradition, and identity in one. Maize did not stand alone in the Maya diet. Beans and squash were important companions in agriculture and helped create a food system that provided a broader combination of nutrients than any single crop could offer. Beans supplied valuable protein, while squash provided edible flesh and seeds, and could also help protect the soil surface. These crops could be grown alongside maize, allowing farmers to make efficient use of limited agricultural land. As the plants developed, their different growth patterns created a useful relationship in the same field. Maize grew upward, beans could climb among the stalks, and squash spread close to the ground. The arrangement also helped reduce the need for completely separate growing spaces. Different varieties of these crops were adapted to local environments, giving Maya farmers flexibility across regions with different soils and rainfall patterns. Food production, therefore, depended not simply on growing one successful crop, but on combining several plants in ways that supported the household throughout the year. A Maya field was not just a source of food, but a carefully balanced living system. The Maya did not live in one uniform landscape, and their agricultural practices had to respond to remarkable differences in the environments they inhabited. Some communities lived in humid tropical lowlands, while others occupied areas with seasonal rainfall, shallow soils, wetlands, or elevated terrain. Farmers therefore could not depend on exactly the same methods everywhere. In wetter regions, drainage and the management of excess water became important, while communities in drier environments had to make careful use of limited rainfall. Local knowledge of soil, seasonal changes, and available plants allowed farmers to select techniques that suited their surroundings. Crops were grown in different combinations, and agricultural spaces could range from small household gardens to larger cultivated areas beyond the settlement. This flexibility helped communities produce food across a remarkably varied region of Mesoamerica. Maya agriculture was therefore not one single system repeated everywhere, but a collection of practical solutions shaped by local conditions. The landscape changed, and Maya farming changed with it. In some Maya regions, farmers used a form of shifting cultivation commonly described as slash-and-burn agriculture. The method involved clearing selected vegetation and burning the dried plant material, returning nutrients from the vegetation to the soil as ash. After the land was prepared, crops could be planted and cultivated for a period of time. This system was closely connected to the seasonal rhythm of tropical environments and required farmers to understand how vegetation, rainfall, and soil conditions changed over time. It was not simply a matter of burning forests without planning. Communities had to decide which areas could be cultivated, when land should be cleared, and when fields should be allowed to recover. When cultivated areas became less productive, farmers could move cultivation to another location, while previously used land regenerated naturally. The effectiveness of this approach depended heavily on population density, available land, local climate, and the length of recovery periods. The fire was only one step in a much larger agricultural cycle. Where steep slopes made ordinary farming difficult, some Maya communities developed agricultural terraces that transformed the shape of the landscape. Rather than allowing rainwater and fertile soil to rush downhill, terraces created a series of level surfaces where crops could be planted and maintained. Stone walls or carefully prepared earth helped define these stepped fields, while channels could guide water through the cultivated areas. Terracing required considerable labor because each level had to be constructed and maintained over time. Yet the effort allowed farmers to make productive use of hillsides that would otherwise have been difficult to cultivate safely. Terraces also demonstrate how closely Maya agriculture could interact with the natural landscape. Instead of simply choosing flat land, communities could reshape selected areas to create more useful growing spaces. Archaeological remains of ancient terraces reveal that agricultural engineering extended far beyond the fields immediately surrounding settlements. Even the steepest landscapes could become fields when the land was carefully reshaped. Wetlands might seem like some of the least suitable places for farming, yet Maya communities learned to make productive use of landscapes that were seasonally flooded or covered by shallow water. In parts of the lowlands, farmers modified wet environments by creating raised areas of soil where crops could be planted above the surrounding water. Canals and carefully shaped fields could help manage drainage while making use of moisture that was naturally available. In some regions, fertile mud from low-lying wetlands was also valuable because tropical rainfall could wash nutrients out of ordinary soils. Archaeological evidence suggests that wetland landscapes were not simply obstacles surrounding Maya settlements. They could become productive agricultural environments when people understood how water moved through them and how soils changed during the seasons. This required detailed knowledge of local conditions because a field that was useful during one part of the year could become completely different after heavy rainfall. For the Maya, even waterlogged land could become farmland. The tropical Maya landscape presented farmers with a difficult problem. Heavy seasonal rainfall could rapidly wash nutrients from exposed soils, while repeated cultivation could gradually reduce productivity. Farmers therefore used different strategies depending on their environment. In some places, they allowed fields to lie fallow so vegetation could return and the soil could recover. Other communities improved cultivated areas through terraces, raised fields, organic material, or the movement of fertile soil from wetter environments. At El Mirador, for example, archaeological research has suggested that fertile mud from low-lying wetlands was transported onto agricultural terraces, while lime was also used to alter soil conditions. These practices reveal that Maya agriculture was not simply about planting seeds and waiting for rain. Farmers observed the behavior of their land and adjusted their methods according to local conditions. Maintaining productive soil required patience, labor, and generations of accumulated environmental knowledge. A successful harvest began long before the seed entered the ground. Growing enough food was only part of the challenge. Maya households also needed to protect harvested crops from moisture, animals, insects, and the long gaps between one harvest and the next. Food storage, therefore, became an important part of agricultural life. Dry maize and other crops could be kept in containers or storage areas designed to reduce exposure to damp conditions. In the northern Yucatan, where natural surface water was scarce, Maya communities also developed underground storage chambers known as coltons for collecting rainwater, showing how carefully storage spaces could be adapted to local environmental conditions. Food preparation and preservation began immediately after harvesting, with crops processed into forms that could be used later. Stored supplies provided households with greater security when weather disrupted agricultural work or when the next harvest was still months away. The ability to preserve what had already been produced helped transform a seasonal harvest into a more dependable food supply. The harvest was never truly safe until it had been stored. For Maya farmers, too little rain could be just as dangerous as too much. Many crops depended on seasonal rainfall arriving at the right moments, especially during planting and the early stages of growth. A prolonged dry period could reduce harvests, lower water levels, and place pressure on entire communities. This problem became particularly serious in regions without permanent rivers or lakes, where rainwater had to be captured and stored for later use. At Tikal, for example, large reservoirs collected rainfall from paved surfaces and helped supply the population during dry periods. Archaeological and climate research also indicates that prolonged droughts affected several Maya regions during the centuries when major cities experienced political and demographic changes. Drought did not automatically destroy every community, however. Different cities had different environments, water systems, crops, and responses, meaning that some places proved more resilient than others. When the rains failed, every part of Maya life felt the difference. Behind every great Maya city stood a much larger agricultural world. Monumental temples, palaces, plazas, markets, and roads could exist only because thousands of people were able to obtain enough food to sustain urban life. Farmers living around major centers produced crops that supported households far beyond the immediate fields, while agricultural specialists developed ways to cultivate difficult landscapes and manage seasonal water. The scale of Maya cities therefore depended on more than architecture or political power. It depended on a continuous relationship between people, land, rainfall, crops, storage, and labor. In some regions, terraces, reservoirs, canals, raised fields, and other forms of environmental management allowed communities to support dense populations. But this relationship also created vulnerability. When harvests declined or water became scarce, the effects could spread beyond individual farms and place pressure on entire urban systems. Agriculture was therefore not simply an economic activity surrounding Maya cities. It was the quiet foundation beneath everything the cities became. The Maya world stretched across an enormous and varied region, and no single community possessed everything its people needed or desired. Different areas offered different natural resources, creating strong reasons for goods to move between distant settlements. Coastal communities had access to salt, shells, and marine products, while inland regions could provide crops, stone, timber, feathers, and other valuable materials. Some resources were found only in particular geological regions, making exchange especially important for communities located far from those sources. Maya traders could travel along rivers, across established land routes, and by canoe along coastlines and waterways. Goods did not always move directly from their place of origin to their final destination. Instead, they could pass through several communities as part of wider networks of exchange. Archaeologists have discovered materials hundreds of kilometers from their natural sources, revealing how extensive these connections could become. Trade, therefore, linked communities that might never have been politically united, allowing objects, resources, and ideas to travel across the Maya world. The Maya world was connected long before modern roads existed. Cacao occupied a special place in the Maya world because its value extended far beyond food. The seeds came from cacao pods that grew naturally in warm, humid environments, particularly in regions suited to the tropical tree. Maya people prepared cacao into drinks, sometimes combining it with water, spices, or other ingredients to create a bitter and aromatic beverage. Cacao was associated with important social and ceremonial occasions, and its consumption could reflect status and hospitality. The beans themselves could also function as a form of exchange in certain contexts, giving cacao an economic importance in addition to its cultural role. Because cacao trees required particular environmental conditions, communities outside the main growing regions depended on networks that brought the valuable beans to them. This made cacao part of the broader movement of goods across Mesoamerica. The small seeds inside an ordinary-looking tropical fruit could therefore connect agriculture, ceremony, social status, and commerce. A tiny cacao bean could carry remarkable value. Salt may appear ordinary today, but for the ancient Maya, it was an essential and valuable resource. The human body requires salt, yet naturally occurring sources were not evenly distributed across the Maya world. Coastal regions offered access to seawater and salt-producing environments, while inland communities could be much farther from reliable supplies. Along parts of the Yucatan coast, Maya communities produced salt by evaporating seawater in carefully prepared areas, creating concentrated deposits that could be collected and transported elsewhere. Salt was important not only for seasoning food, but also for preserving certain foods, making it especially useful in a warm climate where fresh products could spoil quickly. Archaeological evidence from salt-producing sites shows that production could be organized on a considerable scale, with processing areas and storage facilities supporting wider distribution. Salt, therefore, connected coastal producers with inland consumers and became an important part of regional exchange networks. Something as simple as salt could travel surprisingly far. Among the materials valued by the Maya, few were more closely associated with prestige and symbolism than jade. The most prized varieties came from sources outside much of the central Maya lowlands, particularly from regions such as the Motagua Valley in present-day Guatemala. This geographical distance made jade an important long-distance trade material. Maya craftspeople shaped the hard stone into beads, pendants, plaques, ornaments, and finely carved objects, often producing pieces that required considerable skill and patience. Jade was not valuable simply because it was beautiful. Its color, durability, rarity, and association with important people and ceremonies gave it a deeper significance. Green jade could be connected with life, fertility, and precious vegetation, while elaborate jade ornaments could signal the high status of the person wearing them. Because finished objects could travel far from the geological source of the stone, jade also provides archaeologists with clues about ancient exchange networks. The journey of a piece of jade could reveal a network larger than the object itself. Obsidian was another material that could travel great distances through Maya trade networks, but its value came from a very different property. This dark volcanic glass can fracture into extremely sharp edges, making it remarkably useful for cutting and scraping. Maya craftspeople shaped obsidian into blades, points, flakes, and other tools used in everyday activities, as well as hunting and ritual practices. Unlike jade, obsidian was not primarily valued for its color or decorative beauty. Its practical usefulness made reliable access to good quality stone extremely important. Different obsidian sources produced distinctive chemical signatures, and modern archaeologists can sometimes identify where ancient artifacts originally came from by analyzing their composition. This has revealed that Maya communities obtained obsidian from several volcanic regions, including sources far beyond the settlements where finished tools were eventually found. A small blade could therefore preserve evidence of an ancient journey, connecting a Maya household to distant mountains and trading partners. Every obsidian blade carried a geological fingerprint. Shells were among the most recognizable objects that traveled through the Maya world, yet many of the places where they have been discovered were far from the coast. Marine shells could be collected along the Caribbean and Gulf coasts and then carried inland, sometimes becoming ornaments, tools, containers, or ceremonial objects. Their unusual shapes, colors, and connection with the sea made them valuable in communities where such materials were not naturally available. Archaeologists have found shells incorporated into jewelry, decorative objects, and ritual items at inland Maya sites, providing evidence that coastal resources moved deep into the interior. Some shells were modified by cutting or polishing, while others were preserved in forms that made their marine origin immediately recognizable. Their presence far from the ocean therefore tells a larger story than decoration alone. It reveals that people, goods, and ideas were moving between environments separated by considerable distances. A shell could begin its journey on a distant coastline and eventually become part of life in an inland settlement. The sea could reach deep into the Maya world without a single wave. Some of the most visually striking objects in Maya art were made from materials that could only be obtained from particular environments. Brightly colored feathers, animal skins, shells, rare stones, and other exotic materials could travel far beyond the places where they originally came from. Feathers were especially valued because their brilliant colors could not easily be reproduced with ordinary materials. Certain birds lived in specific tropical habitats, making their feathers difficult to obtain in distant regions. Craftspeople could incorporate them into elaborate ornaments, headdresses, shields, costumes, and ceremonial objects associated with important individuals. The movement of such materials required more than simple exchange of goods. It connected communities with very different landscapes and encouraged people to develop relationships with distant suppliers and trading partners. An object made from a rare feather could therefore represent not only artistic skill, but also access to a resource from far away. Exotic materials helped transform ordinary objects into symbols of status, ceremony, and connection across the Maya world. A single feather could begin a journey through an entire network. The Maya moved goods across difficult landscapes without horses, wheeled transport, or modern roads. Human porters carried loads along established paths, while canoes provided an efficient way to move heavier cargo across rivers, lakes, and coastal waters. The absence of wheeled vehicles did not mean that Maya transportation was simple. Long-distance movement required knowledge of terrain, seasonal conditions, waterways, and safe stopping places. Some routes followed natural corridors through forests, while others connected settlements across flatter landscapes. Water transport could be especially efficient because a canoe could carry a greater load than a person walking through difficult terrain. Traders and porters, therefore, used different methods according to the environment they encountered. Goods could change hands repeatedly as they moved from one region to another, allowing a product from a distant source to reach communities that were hundreds of kilometers away. The system depended upon people rather than machines and upon knowledge accumulated through countless journeys. The Maya did not need wheels to move an entire world of goods. Maya cities were politically independent in many periods, yet independence did not prevent them from becoming deeply connected through exchange. A city could depend upon resources that were scarce or completely absent in its immediate surroundings, creating reasons to maintain contact with neighboring and distant communities. Traders carried materials between settlements, while markets and meeting places provided opportunities for goods to change hands. These connections could extend beyond simple commercial exchange. Along with objects, travelers carried information, customs, technologies, artistic influences, and knowledge about distant places. The result was a Maya world in which communities could remain politically separate while participating in overlapping economic networks. One city might obtain salt from the coast, stone from another region, and luxury materials from still farther away. Archaeological discoveries of foreign materials within urban centers provide evidence of these connections, even when written records are incomplete. Trade, therefore, created invisible links between cities that may never have shared the same ruler. The cities were separate kingdoms, but their goods ignored the borders. Archaeology has revealed just how far some Maya goods could travel from their original sources. Materials such as obsidian, jade, marine shells, and other distinctive resources have been discovered at sites far from the geological or environmental regions where they naturally occurred. Modern researchers can sometimes identify the origin of these materials by examining their physical or chemical characteristics, allowing an ancient object to be be traced back toward its source. A piece of volcanic glass found in one city might therefore point toward a distant volcanic region, while a jade ornament could reveal connections with a completely different part of Mesoamerica. These discoveries show that trade was not limited to neighboring settlements. Goods could pass through several communities before reaching their final destination, creating chains of exchange that connected distant regions. The original trader may never have traveled the entire distance himself. Instead, each stage of the journey could involve different people and different communities. A small object could cross hundreds of kilometers before reaching its final owner. Maya artists transformed limestone and other stones into some of the most enduring records of their civilization. Stone carving was not simply a form of decoration. Sculptors created images of rulers, supernatural beings, important events, and symbols connected with Maya beliefs, turning the surfaces of buildings and monuments into permanent records. Limestone was especially important because it was widely available across much of the Maya lowlands and could be shaped with stone tools into remarkably detailed forms. Artists carefully carved faces, clothing, ornaments, gestures, and symbolic objects, allowing even small details to communicate meaning. Some sculptures were designed to be viewed from a distance, while others contained intricate details that could only be appreciated when standing close to the monument. Carving also required considerable planning because removing too much stone could permanently destroy the intended form. Finished sculptures were sometimes covered with plaster and painted in brilliant colors, meaning that the ancient Maya world of stone was once far more colorful than the weathered surfaces visible today suggest. The stone monuments we see today are only the faded remains of a much brighter world. Some Maya rulers chose stone monuments as a way to make their presence impossible to forget. Tall carved stelae were erected in ceremonial plazas and other important locations, often displaying images of rulers accompanied by inscriptions recording dates, titles, victories, rituals, or important events. These monuments could function almost like public historical records, allowing people who gathered around them to see the power and achievements of a particular dynasty. The surfaces were carefully prepared before artists carved detailed figures and hieroglyphic texts into the stone. Many stelae portrayed rulers standing in elaborate ceremonial clothing, wearing enormous headdresses, and holding objects associated with authority or ritual activity. Their scale also mattered. A towering stone monument rising above a public plaza immediately drew attention and transformed the surrounding space. Some stelae were placed in pairs or groups, creating visual relationships between different rulers and historical events. Although centuries of weathering have damaged many of them, the surviving monuments continue to provide some of the most valuable evidence for reconstructing Maya political history. A single stone could preserve the memory of an entire reign. The Maya did not see their world in the muted colors of the ruins that survive today. Walls, sculptures, temples, and other surfaces could be covered with vivid pigments, transforming entire buildings into colorful visual environments. Maya painters created murals showing rulers, ceremonies, supernatural beings, musicians, warriors, animals, plants, and scenes from daily life. One of the most remarkable surviving examples comes from sites such as Bonampak, where painted walls preserve detailed scenes of Maya courtly and ceremonial life. Artists worked with mineral and organic pigments to create colors including red, blue, yellow, black, and green, applying them carefully to prepared plaster surfaces. Maya blue was particularly distinctive because it combined an indigo dye with a mineral clay, producing a remarkably durable pigment. Because tropical conditions can destroy painted surfaces quickly, surviving murals are rare and especially valuable to archaeologists. They reveal clothing, objects, architecture, ceremonies, and social activities that stone monuments sometimes leave unexplained. The ancient Maya cities were once filled with colors that time could barely erase. Some of the most intimate examples of Maya art survived not on enormous monuments, but on objects small enough to hold in one hand. Painted ceramics were used as vessels for food, drinks, storage, and ritual activities, yet their surfaces could also become carefully designed works of art. Maya potters shaped clay into bowls, plates, jars, cups, and other containers before applying slips and pigments to their surfaces. Some vessels were decorated with scenes showing rulers seated in court, musicians performing, supernatural beings, animals, or episodes connected with Maya mythology. Others carried hieroglyphic inscriptions that identified the owner, the object, or its intended use. Because ceramics were used in everyday life, they provide archaeologists with a different perspective from monumental sculpture. A palace monument might present an idealized image of royal power, while a painted vessel can reveal smaller details about clothing, food, music, furniture, and ceremonial practices. Broken fragments can also survive in enormous quantities, allowing researchers to trace changes in artistic styles across different periods and regions. Even a simple drinking vessel could carry an entire world of Maya imagery. Masks and ornaments allowed Maya artists to transform the appearance of the people who wore them. Masks could be created from materials such as stone, stucco, shell, bone, or precious greenstone, and their designs often represented rulers, ancestors, deities, or supernatural beings. Some were used in ceremonies, while others were placed in tombs as part of elaborate funerary traditions. Ornaments served a similar purpose by communicating identity and status through carefully chosen materials and shapes. Ear spools, necklaces, pendants, bracelets, belts, and elaborate headdresses could be combined into highly complex ceremonial costumes. Jade was especially valued because of its color, durability, and symbolic associations. But artists also worked with shell, bone, teeth, feathers, and other materials. The meaning of an ornament depended not only on what it was made from, but also on who wore it and when it was displayed. A ruler appearing in an elaborate costume could communicate authority without saying a single word. Through masks and ornaments, Maya artists turned the human body itself into a powerful visual language. For the Maya, identity could be something you wore. Jade held a special place in Maya art, not simply because it was beautiful, but because its color, durability, and rarity gave it a meaning that ordinary materials could not easily provide. Maya artists shaped jade into beads, pendants, ear ornaments, figurines, plaques, and other carefully crafted objects. Its green color was associated with life, vegetation, water, and renewal, making it particularly appropriate for objects connected with status and ceremony. Jade was difficult to work because it was extremely hard, so creating a finely shaped ornament required patience, skill, and considerable effort. Artists also used many other materials, including shell, bone, stone, wood, feathers, and precious minerals, choosing each according to its appearance, availability, and symbolic importance. Some objects were designed to be worn, while others were placed in tombs, offerings, or ceremonial locations. Archaeologists can sometimes trace the origins of these materials across enormous distances, revealing that valuable artistic objects depended upon long-distance exchange networks. The finished object, therefore, represented more than craftsmanship. It could connect a person with distant landscapes, social status, and ideas about life itself. A small piece of jade could carry the meaning of an entire world. Color transformed Maya art from simple decoration into a visual language filled with associations and meaning. Ancient Maya artists worked with pigments derived from minerals, plants, clays, and other natural materials, creating shades of red, yellow, black, white, green, and blue. These colors appeared on buildings, sculptures, murals, ceramics, masks, and ceremonial objects, often creating a much brighter visual world than the faded ruins suggest today. Red was especially common and could appear on architectural surfaces, painted vessels, and ceremonial objects, while blue became particularly important in Maya ritual and artistic traditions. The famous pigment known as Maya blue combined an indigo-based dye with a special clay, producing a remarkably stable color that could survive for centuries under difficult conditions. White pigments were also widely used, often providing backgrounds or highlights against stronger colors. Artists did not necessarily use color simply because it looked attractive. Different colors could carry associations with directions, elements of nature, supernatural beings, or particular ritual contexts. When archaeologists discover traces of original pigment, even tiny fragments can change the appearance of an entire monument in their reconstruction. The Maya world was never meant to be seen in stone alone, but in color. When Maya artists represented people, they rarely created simple portraits without purpose. The position of the body, the clothing, the jewelry, the headdress, and the objects held in the hands could all communicate identity and social position. Rulers were often shown wearing elaborate costumes that made their authority immediately visible. Large headdresses, decorated belts, ear ornaments, necklaces, and ceremonial clothing created an appearance very different from that of ordinary people. Artists could also portray rulers standing, seated on elaborate thrones, participating in ceremonies, receiving visitors, or performing actions connected with political and religious authority. Other figures appeared as attendants, musicians, captives, warriors, scribes, or members of the royal household, allowing Maya artwork to show relationships between different groups within society. Even the scale of a figure could carry meaning. with important individuals sometimes represented much larger than surrounding people. These artistic choices were not random. They created a visual system through which viewers could recognize rank, identity, occupation, and ceremonial importance. For modern archaeologists, these details are especially valuable because clothing and objects can reveal information that written inscriptions alone cannot provide. In Maya art, appearance itself could speak about power. Maya art provides far more than beautiful images from the distant past. It offers a window into how Maya society understood power, family, religion, warfare, ceremony, nature, and everyday life. A painted vessel can reveal how people dressed, what objects they used, or how food and drink were presented. A carved monument can preserve the name of a ruler and the date of an important event. A mural can show musicians, dancers, servants, warriors, or ceremonies that would otherwise remain almost invisible to modern researchers. Artistic materials also reveal connections between communities because jade, shell, pigments, and other valuable substances sometimes traveled great distances before reaching the artists who transformed them. The subjects chosen for monuments reveal what powerful people wanted their communities to remember, while more ordinary objects can provide glimpses of activities beyond royal courts. Art, therefore, connects different parts of Maya life that might otherwise appear separate. It brings together politics, religion, economics, craftsmanship, family, and identity in a single visual record. Even damaged fragments can preserve details that written history never recorded. Maya art survives because it remembered what people once considered worth showing. More than 1,000 years have passed since many of these works were created, yet Maya art still survives in stone, ceramic, pigment, jade, shell, and other materials. Its survival was never guaranteed. Tropical rain, humidity, vegetation, erosion, earthquakes, rebuilding, and the passage of time destroyed countless objects and erased many painted surfaces. Some monuments remained buried beneath soil and vegetation for centuries, protected from weather, until archaeologists uncovered them. Stone inscriptions survived more often because carved surfaces could endure long after pigments disappeared, while ceramics survived when broken fragments became buried in the ground. Modern archaeological conservation has helped protect many surviving works, but preservation also depends upon careful study of the materials themselves. Every remaining fragment can contain information about the people who created it, the materials they obtained, the techniques they mastered, and the world they wanted to represent. What remains today is only a portion of the art once surrounding Maya communities, yet that surviving portion is enough to reveal extraordinary creativity and technical skill. The paintings have faded, the monuments have weathered, and many objects have been broken, but their stories continue. After more than 1,000 years, the art still remembers.